When the news broke that Red Bull did indeed breach the cost cap last season, I think every one of us knew that it wouldn't take long before we hear Toto Wolff's opinions about the situation. And we weren't wrong, as now Toto is demanding the FIA to take swift and harsh action regarding the matter. So, what does Toto exactly want to happen now that Red Bull is indeed guilty? Well, let's talk about it then. But before we do, consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on our latest uploads. Now that's out of the way, let's get started. According to the regulations set by the FIA, breaches may come in two forms: a minor breach, which means exceeding below 5% of the total cost cap, and a major breach, which would be anything above 5%. While minor may sound like it isn't a big deal, that isn't how Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff is seeing it, as he believes every penny beyond the cost cap may be the difference maker to winning or losing a title. Is it a so-called minor breach? Because I think the word is probably not correct, he recently said. If you're spending $5 million more and you're still in the minor breach, it still has a big impact on the championship. To give you an idea, we obviously monitor closely which parts are being brought to the track from the top teams every single race, for the 2021 season and the 2022 season. We can see that there are two top teams that are just about the same, and there is another team that spends more. We know exactly what we're spending: $3.5 million a year in parts that we bring to the car. So then you can see what difference it makes to spend another $500,000. It would make a difference. To further showcase just how much every penny makes a big difference, Toto would further explain why the W13 is still one of the heaviest cars on the grid. Toto would say that while the team has the brain power and the facilities to create a lighter chassis, the fact that they were staying true to the cost cap means that they will have to live with their overweight W13 until the end of the season. We haven't produced lightweight parts for the car in order to bring us down from a double-digit overweight, because we simply haven't got the money, he said. So we need to do it for next year's car. We can't homologate a lightweight chassis and bring it in because it's just $2 million that we'll be over the cap. So you can see every spend more has a performance advantage. And while it is official that Red Bull had overspent last season, the FIA has kept it mum about just how much the team had overspent. By definition of a minor breach, the team could have overspent by $7 to $7.25 million. If it's the former, then the team did indeed just overspend on catering. But if it's the latter, then that would be double Mercedes' in-season development budget, according to Toto. It would also be double Ferrari's, and a way lot more for teams like Haas and Alfa Romeo. In fact, Alfa Romeo's team boss Fred Vasseur has previously revealed that the team only had an in-season development budget of $2.4 million. So it is safe to say that all hell will break loose if the team did overspend by a wide margin. Another issue that Toto has with the situation is the FIA delaying their decision as to how they want to punish Red Bull. According to their regulations, the FIA has stated that a points deduction in the Constructors' or Drivers' Championship is one of the possible punishments the Red Bull may receive. And according to the news site Il Corriere dello Sport, Toto Wolff and Mercedes are ready to break the rules as well if the FIA does not handle the situation correctly. If Red Bull had gone behind by $2 million, it would close the matter by paying the FIA 5 times, so $10 million. And in any case, it would not be fair because it would establish the right to cheat by paying an amnesty. Mercedes have already talked about it, and if this were really the point of failure, the star is ready to plan an extra budget and related fine to recover performance and return to the top. This is why former F1 driver, now Sky Sports F1 pundit Martin Brundle believes that the FIA's decision will make or break the sport and the regulations that they have set in place. It's got to be made clear that you stick to the cost cut or it's gonna hurt, he told Any Driven Monday. The touted amount could be a new front wing or a floor or something like that, All of the teams, somehow or other, will be making the absolute most of their interpretation of these regulations. Also, the corporate governance of Mercedes-Benz, for example, means that they can't be seen to breach something like this. That needs to be the same for all teams. I'd like to think, and I understand it to be the case, that someone like Toto has to sign a document to comply with these. Christian Horner at Red Bull, all the key personnel and financial personnel should be personally locked into this. That's a critical area, so that they're responsible and accountable, as well as their company, in being transparent and honest with these numbers. And while Toto is showing his true colors because of how the FIA is dealing with the situation, Ferrari's team boss Mattia Binotto is doing the opposite and is giving the team the benefit of the doubt, as the financial regulations are still in its early days, as Mattia would call it. And if you look at the technical or sporting regulations, it's many years it's in place, said Mattia. Yes, you are retuning, changing a bit the chassis, but still the budget cap and unknown field, both from the FIA and the teams. We know exactly where things can be done, where it needs to be policed. That is why the financial regulations are completely new regulations for both the teams and the FIA. And it will take the time for the FIA, for the teams, to know it, to interpret it and clarify it, police it and monitor it. If I look at how big is the team on the FIA, the financial monitors of the situation, 3, 4, 5 people, compared to the tens they have on the technical side, I'm expecting that maybe in a few years' time it could be tens of people financially monitoring what's going on with the budget. And now, with all the bad publicity surrounding the team, many publication sites have dug up a statement Red Bull's team boss Christian Horner had said 2 years ago. In his statement, he would say that it was a fact that every team on the grid was overspending past the budget cap. Money is a hot topic among F1 teams right now, wrote Horner back in May 2020. The problem is, so much is made about the figure of the cost cap that I believe it is missing the point. F1 teams will always spend whatever budget they have available to them, plus an extra 10%. It is impossible to compare the spending of Ferrari to Haas, of Mercedes to Racing Point, now Aston Martin, or even from Red Bull to AlphaTauri. They are all completely different structures and business models. I believe the solution should be looking at what drives those costs up in the first place, and that is the R&D cost of building and developing cars in the hope of being competitive. And there you have it, guys. So what do you think should be the fair punishment for Red Bull? Let us know in the comments section below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't.